We're here. We did it. Hello and welcome to IGN's live reaction to the official Nintendo Switch 2 unveiling. I'm Brian Altano. That is Jada, and that is Logan. And after months of speculation, rumors, and leaks, we are here. The Nintendo Switch 2 has officially been revealed. We're going to check out the trailer right now. I'm giddy with excitement. Look, let's check this out. Okay, so this is our first time officially seeing the Switch 2. Pretty much every single part of this thing has leaked in some form, and now we're taking a look at it. Hey, wait a minute, that's the Switch 1. we were lied to. Okay, let's check it out. Oh, yeah. So yep, bigger screen. They just inflated it and they blew it up. Wider rails.
Like
okay,
Joy-Cons that snap on. Yeah.
Yes, we had heard rumors of the magnetic Joy-Con. So new ports, new kickstand.
Kickstand looks nice.
Yes, this looks gorgeous.
Oh, I love that it can go all the way back.
Oh, look at that. Bigger Joy-Con, that's a plus. They put
some mysterious extra button.
And mysterious paint inside of the some magical goop. Do you think we're finally getting Hall effect joysticks here?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think that's a big reason why they kind of accentuated the color on the joystick is because and the way they're motioning it. Like I feel like they're like touting that ahead of time that it's going to be better.
Is that moving like a mouse? Is that supposed to be moving like a mouse? I hope so.
Yeah, it was so quick. I really like the way they click on now.
Oh, they still got a satisfying sound. That's good. That's a big part of the Switch.
Double click, Switch 2. Okay, let's see some games. Nintendo Switch 2. So no Super Nintendo Switch, no Switch Pro, Nintendo
no
Switch
son
2.
of a Switch.
Yep. Ooh.
That's a new Mario Kart. That is a brand new Mario Kart.
The first new Mario Kart in 100 years.
Yeah, that's a new kart, new art style.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe HD Remaster. We're done with you. Let's move on.
Oh my gosh, that looks gorgeous. That looks incredible.
So they got the Joy-Con grip back, 2025. It's officially launching this year. Looks like it'll play Switch 2 exclusive games as well as all of your old Switch games digitally.
So certain Switch games may not be supported on Switch 2.
Ooh, interesting.
Interesting.
It's Nintendo Labo. Wait, okay, so hands-on events around the world coming in, was that April 2nd?
Yeah, it said 4/2/25, and I'm not sure if that's April 2nd or February 4th. It's one of them.
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it's
that looks awesome.
April.
That looks awesome. It's officially here.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay, so
I'm hyped.
Let's go through some immediate reactions real quick. First of all, this obviously it deflated a bit because so much of this stuff has been out in the wild. But after months and months, if not years, of us speculating Switch 2 or Switch Pro, this is officially revealed now. It's real. So cat's out of the bag. Switch is bigger. It's got better Joy-Cons, ideally better sticks. Jada, let's start with you. How you feeling?
I'm liking it. It's a iterative, advancement. It's, we don't know a lot more about the specs and such fully yet. I'm sure we'll get more of that in the coming direct on April 2nd. I'm looking at their website, right? They have a Nintendo Switch 2 site up right now saying we're getting more information on a direct on April 2nd. So we know we have that. There's also going to be a upcoming experience event in April 26th. So that'll be interesting to see what that consists of. But overall, I like the feel. I like the look. I wish we'd have seen something a little bit more than Mario Kart. But, hey, new Mario Kart is new Mario Kart.
Oh, apparently we're hearing February 4th is the direct.
Okay, it is February. Okay, awesome. That is so soon.
I was going to say April feels so far away.
It does. It's weird. I'm looking on their site and it says more detailed information. So maybe it's maybe we're getting a direct with games on February, and then April is more logistics and stuff. Maybe
April had the hands-on time. They had the dates for the hands-on experience at the end there.
Interesting. Okay, so they're trickling out little details here, but it seems like this was mostly just the teaser, mostly just to be it's real, it's happening, we're making it. Get off of our backs. Stop leaking every part of it. Genki and everybody else. No, this is really cool. Logan, what are your initial thoughts?
Oh, there's so much to go through here. It's a short trailer, maybe shorter than some people were hoping for the big reveal today, but I think they nailed it. I think the big things I wanted to hear out of this personally are, what does this thing look like? What's one big game that you're going to bring to it, which we got with the first new Mario Kart in 11 years, and when are you telling us more, which they then tacked on the end. So I think this is a really easy, concise video to finally introduce us to these things. You're totally right that some of the hype was a little deflated because, yeah, looking at this now, a lot of the leaks were pretty much just confirmed. We had seen bits and pieces over the last several weeks scattered out there. We saw the dock in one leak, the Joy-Con in another, the kickstand in another, just all over the place. But to see it all together straight from the source finally for the first time is incredibly exciting. It looks awesome. And Mario Kart, I'm going to analyze that 5 seconds of Mario Kart footage forever. It looks awesome, and I just can't wait.
I think what's really good about this trailer is that it immediately puts to rest some of the issues I think a lot of us had with the Switch One. Well, ideally, it fixes Joy-Con drift, build quality.
Yes.
Like, it just looks, and again, we haven't held this thing yet. This is just a rotating 3D render, but it looks sturdier, it looks stronger, it looks a little bulkier, heftier. And I think a lot of people kind of wanted that. The original Switch was great. It was revolutionary. It was very novel at the time, but it was also, a little flimsy, and the Joy-Con were notoriously bad, to the point where most of ours drifted over the last 8 years, drifted away from our lives entirely. But it's looking like the Joy-Con rails now have sort of like a secondary thing that slide onto them. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah, that looked like kind of like a wrist strap thing, like we saw with Switch One. But then, yeah, the way they were snaking across the ground, I don't know if there's something more to it there than just the wrist strap. Yeah, it's exciting that this raised some new questions. We're all wondering what that extra C button is on the right Joy-Con. This didn't tell us that. We still don't know. So that upcoming presentation is going to be a ton of fun. So really, today is like if we're comparing to Switch One, it's really like second verse, same as the first. This is the short video. Here's the console. Here's a quick rundown of what it does, and then in a few weeks it's going to be like that big blowout presentation we had in January 2017. Here's the price, the release date, the games, everything you want to know about this thing. So this is just step one on a long road to this actually being in our hands and playing it, and they did a really good job with it. This is super exciting.
Yeah, I also really like the rounded dock. It's a very small and silly thing, but I also like the updated look for the dock as well.
Yeah, I think that, like, we know that Nintendo can make Nintendo games look beautiful and magical on whatever hardware is presented to them. But I'm interested to see what sort of specs are under the hood, to see what kind of third-party support this console will get, and which ports. We had heard rumors of it being as powerful as a PS4, potentially even a PS4 Pro. Rumors about people seeing the chipset and seeing what it's capable of in terms of AI upscaling and stuff like that. And so, yeah, all that stuff will get there. I'm wondering if today will also sort of open a couple of doors for more announcements. Where this has been under wraps for so long, we didn't even know the official title for this thing until today, and it'll be cool to find out. Maybe we'll start getting some press releases and some trailers and some news announcements from EA, Ubisoft, maybe even Microsoft, everybody else out there making games, and saying, hey, yeah, we are officially making X, Y, and Z for Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brian, is that Nintendo may not have shown off a lot of their own games today, but this is going to open the floodgates. We've seen a few developers and publishers here and there over the last several months dance around the idea of Nintendo Switch 2 and say it's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and future Nintendo consoles. And now with this out there, those third-party partners are welcome to come out with their announcements, and this thing's going to be more powerful. It's going to get probably a lot of PS4 era ports with what we've been hearing. So yeah, I expect there to be a lot of Switch 2 news in the coming days, even if Nintendo itself isn't going to talk for a few more weeks. So that's a great part of this too. And I also just wanted to say that it's a big deal that this is named Switch 2. This is the first time they've ever done this. They had Game Boys and Game Boy Advances, they had DSs and 3DSs, Wii and Wii U's, Super Nintendos, but this is a new Nintendo, a new step for them, and just a very clear name. They've made it very clear we're avoiding the mistakes of the Wii U era, and here it is, Nintendo Switch 2. everyone can walk into a store, see that, and understand exactly what it is. It sure worked for PlayStation 2, so I'm really excited that that's the direction they went.
Although I must point out they did go backwards in a number once when they went from the 3DS to the 2DS.
2DS.
They did.
And then also throwing in some XLs in there. So the new Nintendo 2DS XL or whatever, that things did get confusing. So I'm with you. And Logan, I think that speaks to sort of a bigger perspective here on this whole thing, is that they want to let consumers know and let the industry know that this is a proper successor to the Nintendo Switch. It'll play your old Switch games, but it's also going to have new exclusive games that you'll need to buy a Switch 2 to play. And they have to get that messaging across as transparent and obvious as possible, because, you know, you don't want confusion in the retail space. Like, you know, you look at things like the Xbox One X and, you know, the Series S. I think there's, you know, whereas the PlayStation 2, 3, 4, 5, I think there's a pretty obvious a path there for a consumer to go, hey, I own the last one, I'm going to get the new one. It's the next thing. And so, yeah, it's interesting here, because this is the first time that they've ever launched a new system where they don't have another system going at the same time. And not just Nintendo Switch 1, but when the Nintendo Switch 1 was launched, they were still making 3DS games. They were supporting two systems at the same time. And right now it's all the eggs are in one basket on Switch 2. Obviously, Switch 1, one of the most successful systems of all time. So, you know, it's going on to become one of the best-selling systems ever. And so, yeah, I'm interested to see if they can replicate that success, convince consumers to come over, to trade in their old one, get the new one. And I really want to see what games we're going to be able to play on launch day, because last time around it was Breath of the Wild, and that's going to be pretty hard to top. But Mario Kart sells billions, so that could be the gold right there.
I think it's kind of great that if Mario Kart is going to be a launch title, because I'm trying to remember what multiplayer stuff they had for Switch 1 release.
1-2 Switch, Logan? Snipper clips, not great. Yeah. Snipper clips is great. 1-2 Switch is not.
Yeah, so I mean, launching with Mario Kart, this kind of brings it back to DS era, when you got a new DS and you had multiplayer. Well, maybe not original DS with launches like Super Mario 64. We did an episode a while back talking about it's kind of a lackluster launch, but it kind of brings back that feeling of like the Wii era, where we got Wii Sports right off the bat, and like that was multiplayer. Like everybody can enjoy this console. It's not just one person enjoying it. So Mario Kart is a great way to kind of build on that momentum that like they had during the Wii era. So I'm very excited to see Mario Kart that.
So Can
I make a prediction right now, real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
With what we're seeing. Yeah. So at the end of this trailer, I think that we're just seconds away from seeing it, but they have the Joy-Con kind of pop out of the side in its grip, and it's like dangling down at a 45-degree angle to kind of show you it's different than the sliding. Right here, that's going to probably be the logo that opens up their trailers. The iconic red Switch logo, Joy-Con slotting down, you know. I think this one will probably have like, it clicks in from the side in that logo of Switch 2, just so you know this is still Switch, but it's different, and that's brilliant. I love that shot right there. That's really, really smart marketing to show, oh, my Switch doesn't do that. That is just a visual indicator. This is a different thing, and I think that's probably what they'll do with the opening of their trailers, to keep that iconic snap.
We all remember the launch week on Switch 1, where we would attach the Joy-Con rails upside down on the sides of our Joy-Con and have to struggle to get them off. So I'm glad they're getting rid of that. I do want to point out on Nintendo.com, they have put up a registration to go hands-on with this thing in cities like New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, and Toronto in North America, Paris, London, Milan, Berlin, Madrid, and Amsterdam, awesome. Tons more. And some of these dates go up to June 2025.
Wow.
And so that's telling me, you know, it doesn't necessarily indicate when the release date will be, but you'll have until June around the world to actually get your hands on this thing. You could register for Switch 2 experience right now and get a ticket. But do we think that indicates anything to do with the release date? Like it, or do we think that it'll be something that, you know, you can play this, but it'll be in stores already by the time you can get your hands on it?
I could see like it maybe being in stores towards the tail end of some of these dates. That way, for, you know, kind of just continuing the momentum post-launch for people who may still be on the fence even after launch. I could see that, but it does certainly point towards potentially a late summer, fall release, maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a
Which
hard call because they bring released things to shows all the time, and not everyone's picking this thing up on day one. So yeah, I'm not sure if that tells us anything. It could kind of fall on either side of some of these later dates, but they just said 2025 in this trailer, so maybe it'll be a fall thing. But yeah, I'm hoping it's sooner than that.
I want to talk about the Joy-Con again real quick. Perfect. Here we go. So, a lot of theories kicking around about this one being having a mouse functionality, right? Like the right Joy-Con specifically. And we saw that Joy-Con grip rail thing gets slid onto it. And some folks are sort of theorizing that will be the way you use pointer controls. There is a part in this trailer where you see it go upside down and sideways and stuff like that. We still haven't seen any like proper real indication of this thing being officially being able to use as a mouse, which is very odd, but very like Nintendo. Look at that right there. Like there's no reason to lay that thing
if it
flat.
wasn't a mouse.
Yeah, it's so something tells me this will have not just the pointer controls that the Switch one had, but mouse controls. Like they're sliding around a table, they're racing each other right there. There's something to this here.
It's the new Mario Kart Live circuit, guys. You got to race your Joy-Cons.
Yeah, every second of these trailers is so intentional, and just if you know about Nintendo internally, it has to climb the ladder and so many rungs on this thing to get final approval. This wouldn't just be in here if it was nothing, right?
It even looks like a mouse. It's got like an ear and a tail. Look, now you can make the Joy-Con drift all with your own hands. You just push them across the floor.
Great.
So yeah, I'm with you both. This feels deliberate, and it feels like something we're going to find more about very, very soon. I truly do believe we're going to get a bunch of third-party announcements this week, if not today. And I do think one or two of them are going to point out that there's a mouse functionality here. And it's interesting because do you think so? Both of these controllers now, do you think will work at that in this way?
Yeah. I hope so, because I think if they don't, I mean, it's kind of weird to like single out left-handers, like left-handed people. If there's a lot of people who are left-handed. Like, why would they make it on one side and not the other? But then again, it's Nintendo, so we never know what's going to happen. It may be a situation where we don't get Bluetooth. So, for multiple years, we don't get left-handed mouse controls on the Joy-Cons until 2027. Who knows?
Yeah. Look at that.
Can we go to the spot where it clicks in? I think we're about to show it, where it has like how they clip in. I'm a little concerned right here. Yes, perfect. I'm a little concerned with that, where the Joy-Cons clip in, just because it looks, I'm sure it's sturdy, but I'm worried for kids with how that clicks in, that may break for Joy-Cons, and that could mess, with a lot of kids' Switches. Well, that's one thing I am a little concerned. We don't know what this, like, how this exactly looks and how sturdy it is, but that is just something that caught my eye on this most recent rewatch of the trailer, and I'm just like,
no, especially because the sort of like the chip is hanging out of the screen itself, and that's the expensive part, right? The Joy-Con, which, by the way, what do we think those are going to cost for replacements? Because a set of Joy-Con is still like $79.99.
$80, yeah.
Yeah, you think we'll go that way
probably
again?
Yeah.
But
I imagine it'll be like 70, 80 again.
While we're on that subject, we don't have a clear idea of release date, but what, like, sort of shot in the dark here, what are we expecting price wise? The original Switch launched at $299.99, and then the OLED jumped that up by $50. The Switch Lite was $200. This is bigger. This is theoretically or definitely more powerful, I hope. Brand new Joy-Con, new tech. It just looks like it's got sturdier build quality. But also Nintendo makes products that they want, all families to enjoy and people of all ages. So I don't think they're going to go, in the sort of Apple direction. They're not going to go in the Steam Deck direction of hitting you with a $500, $600 price tag. But sort of shot in the dark, what's our guesses on price right now?
$400.
I'm going
400.
Yeah, I'm going.
Jada?
Yeah, I'm thinking 350 to 400 range. Chat seems, I'm looking at chat right now for our live stream, and it looks like they're assuming 400 as well. So I think, the question is are you willing to pay 400 for this console? Like, does this seem like a $400 value?
Right.
Like, this is it a value at $400 for you?
Well,
and I think it's a little tough right now with not knowing games or specs and stuff like that, but I think I'm in. as of now?
I think their biggest challenge is convincing comfortable Switch One owners. Not people like us who are like, we got to get the new thing day one, but the average sort of casual gamer who bought in during the pandemic to mess around on their Animal Crossing island and shake trees and stuff, get stung by bees. Those people, how do you convince them to sell their Switch One, trade up, get the Switch Two, and get in day one for the Switch launch games? Like, I think that's going to be their biggest struggle. Nintendo always has a hardcore demographic of people. A bunch of them are sitting right here on the show, who buy the system no matter what on day one. The Wii U had strong day one sales, and then sort of just like, then we all left and no one else really showed up. So I'm not suspecting the same thing will happen here, because the Switch is amazing and the value proposition, I believe, will be there. But it does seem like a tougher challenge for the average consumer to go, well, what's wrong with the Switch I have already?
Yeah. I think that the 400 is a strong price point for this, because I look at the other consoles that both launched at 500, and this is the first generation that really saw price increases in a lot of regions for those consoles, and we aren't seeing price drops. They've come here and there, but with PS5 and Series X, they've stayed pretty strong at 500 and gone upwards of that in some places. And so I look at Nintendo's strategy, and I think 400 is really strong. It's more expensive than a Series S, but I think that the portability of this thing and just all the value that it's going to bring, I think it's worth it. And it still starts with that 3 on store shelves, $399.99. I think that is a good sweet spot for this. Anything lower, I'm happily surprised, and anything higher, I'm a little worried about it.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to point out that some folks online are saying that Mario Kart, that game we saw today, here we go. They paused and zoomed in, and the Donkey Kong model in this, we might be able to see it, resembles the one from the Mario movie. So
really?
with the eyeballs close together, which is, not shocking considering that movie did $1 billion, and it's probably a lot of people's first exposure to that character. But that's very funny. I wonder how much.
I feel like I can even see it from here. Yeah, just he looks a little different. That's interesting, because there was a interview with Miyamoto about Donkey Kong's design in the Mario movie, and he said that he specifically worked on that very closely to try to bring him closer to how he used to look in the arcade games, like in Donkey Kong from the 80s. So maybe that's just a thing going forward for him, and that's kind of cool to see.
I also
This is a very petty thing for me to notice, but Red, can we go back to the beginning of the race? I want to see all the racers.
Do you see Donkey Kong?
Because I see,
yeah, he totally looks like that. That's cool.
He very much looks different. But the thing I want to point out is I see Rosalina very clear, but I don't see Daisy.
Isn't Daisy right next to her? Isn't she literally
is she
ahead of Rosalina? Yeah, she's in front of her.
Is she? Okay, maybe I'm missing her.
What's your problem with Daisy? You don't think she's going to show up this time?
Oh, she is right there. She's off to the right. Bummer. No, I was just trying to throw shade at Mark Medina, because me and him have this eternal feud of Rosalina versus Daisy. So as being the
now, obviously, this is our first glimpse of a game running on Nintendo Switch 2, and it's a new unnamed Mario Kart, potentially Mario Kart 9. I don't know what they'll call it, but it doesn't seem like it has anything significantly different in terms of like a gimmick. Like Double Dash had the two riders in one cart. Mario Kart 8 had the sort of hover carts that could go upside down and do loops and stuff like that. So I'm wondering what the hook is here. So far, it just looks like, a rock solid standard issue, potentially 4K Mario Kart, which no problem with that. But I do wonder if there is something that we haven't seen yet that's like, oh, this is the thing that defines this game.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I also, if we can go back to where we see it playing on the Switch itself, the Switch 2 itself, not the docked mode, look at that bezel on there. That's a pretty big bezel on the left side of it, which seems like a really odd choice for their games. And I don't know, like if we're making the screen bigger, like, let's use more of the screen.
No, I'm with you. There's a lot of wasted real estate there, which is
a problem on Switch 1 too, on the original model.
I want to point out that Masahiro Sakurai, who you all know from the Smash Brothers series, quote tweeted Nintendo's announcement by saying, "Ooh." Which is just wonderful.
You've known about it for years, so Sakurai.
Yes, of course. He's known. I mean, he's the guy that basically ran he banked an entire YouTube channel without anyone knowing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another big one. Smash Brothers had a tremendous success on Switch. One of the most incredible feats in video game history was assembling that roster, which they did over the course of years, and then making accompanying amiibos for all of them. Just crazy. Do we think there will be some sort of update to Smash Brothers, a brand new version? Are we going to go through the whole thing again, where there's reveals, characters are getting letters with the stamps and opening them up? How do we feel about that?
I don't know. It's so hard to imagine where they go after Smash Ultimate. Like, is Smash Ultimate kind of the Mario Kart 8 of Switch 2, to where we got Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U and it kind of just went to Switch and got a whole nother lifespan and lasted the entire console generation, basically? Is that going to be Smash this time around?
I think so. Sakurai revealed several months ago he is working on a brand new game, and with the whole story about him banking his YouTube channel, in the years since, he has been making something in secret. I think it's a new Smash Brothers. I do. I think that
I hope so.
Just can't help but come back to the well again. I think that he loves it. He doesn't trust anybody to make it without him, which, I mean, that's not great. Eventually, it's going to have to shift hands. But if he's around for one more, I can't wait to see how a genius like that follows up the masterpiece that is Smash Ultimate. And after the hype to reveals like Sora that we're seeing on screen here, every company is going to be wanting to get that phone call from Sakurai for their character, and they could go even crazier on the next one. Will it be Everyone Is Here again? I don't know. That seems impossibly hard to pull off the first time and even harder the second time, but I think he's making Smash Brothers. I think we see it this year, and I think it's out maybe next year.
So it looks like the direct is in April, which
yes.
Sorry, we keep going back and forth on this. We're getting a lot of different information. We're doing this live for transparency. It's 5:30 in the morning over here, and we've been going for a while now. But how do we feel about that? Because that lets me think that this is not a system that we're going to be playing in the spring. I have a feeling this will launch summer or fall.
That's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, I think summer and fall is kind of that perfect time frame. I think if they do late summer, early fall, that gives enough time for early adopters to jump in, buy it early, start making content to promote the console for Nintendo, because we know there's going to be a lot of content creators that are going to be trying to get this day one so they can beat every other content creator out there with new content. And that gives more momentum going into the holiday season for Nintendo, when this thing is sure to be probably the best selling console of 2025. Like, I mean, I think that was going to be the case even if they did launch it in spring, but I think with the even less of a runtime, I think it's still going to sell really well.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, the original Switch launched in the spring and it sold really well. It did really well. But again, different challenges this time around, right? So I do wonder how that's going to land. But fall puts it on a bunch of Christmas lists and Black Friday and all that fun stuff. So it just I don't want to wait that long. I want it now. Yes. I want to play it today. I want to play all my old Switch. Let me ask you guys this then. Do we think that this is going to give any sort of like performance or graphics bump to our existing Switch games? Because for the most part, they ran pretty well, right? We did have some hiccups with, namely, anything running in that Link's Awakening remake engine and Echoes of Wisdom. Tears of the Kingdom had a couple of hiccups here and there. The original Switch is basically an Android tablet from like 12 years ago at this point. And do we think that Switch 2, when playing our backwards compatible Switch 1 games, will give us any sort of boost or benefit?
I imagine performance-wise, at least.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Logan.
I was going to
probably more.
No, just because I don't know. They've never done it before. Every time there's like a backwards compatible system, it kind of just boots into that old OS and just emulates them essentially on the more powerful hardware. I'd love to be wrong on that, because some games really, really need it and would really benefit from it. But yeah, I'm excited to see them talk about that, because it would be a huge, huge boon to a ton of Switch games if they just naturally were boosted to run at 60 or at least a smoother 30 in some games cases. But I don't know, it just doesn't seem very Nintendo. But I don't know, naming a console number 2 isn't very Nintendo, and they just did it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say that folks are pointing out that you can see potentially somewhere between 15, 18, and even 24 racers on track at the same time in
Whoa.
Mario Kart.
There's the
So,
hook. Nice.
yeah.
That's more racers than ever.
Do we
Just means they
do we think that this, and I don't want to even attach this idea to something Nintendo first party, but do we think this might be a live service game? Is this one of those things that they'll keep updating on the fly? They'll do events. I mean, that's all the rage these days. They had no problem selling Mario Kart 8 Deluxe without any of that stuff. But although, you know, there is, by subscribing to Nintendo Online, you get more courses and stuff like that.
Mhm.
How do we feel about the rollout for this one? Do you think this is going to be some big new business approach for them? You can get Yoshi
I
Burgers,
don't know.
by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
is
so
that now? Is
Oh,
that
it looks like him.
made by?
It looks like him. That's great.
That's so good.
Does it? I mean, are the burgers made of Yoshis, or are they?
I mean, either
That's morbid.
he's cooking them with his bare hands and tongue, which is gross, or you're eating Yoshis. You know,
Yeah.
What do they do?
or they're
I think
eggs.
that-
I don't. Who even knows? It's disgusting either way.
In terms of Mario Kart itself, I think that the booster course pass for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was really fascinating because it felt like Nintendo testing the waters of turning Mario Kart into a live service. And I know people get scared of those two words put together, and I get it. But I think that it's still going to be a $60 or more likely $70 game that you buy in a store if you want, or on the Nintendo eShop, hands down. This isn't going to be a free-to-play thing. And it will have a ton of courses at launch, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do build it as a platform. I look at something like what they did with Splatoon 2 and 3 on Nintendo Switch, where every couple months for the first 2 years after launch, here's a new map, here's a Splatfest with an event, here's a new mode, here's a paid roguelite DLC. They've been testing the waters on Switch with a lot of that stuff, and Mario Kart is a perfect candidate for it to every 6 months add 8 more tracks, do that for the entirety of the Switch 2 generation, and then by the end of it, there's 150 courses, and it would just be the biggest Mario Kart ever, which would be bigger than the one we already have. And you can pull from retro courses, you can make new ones, battle mode, the characters, costumes. Tour added a ton of stuff over its lifespan. That's the mobile Mario Kart, but I think it makes a lot of sense here. I still think that it will sell millions and millions at full price, but then they'll just support it with hopefully free content, maybe paid content, maybe subscriber-based content. If you're a Switch Online member, you get it like the Booster Course Pass. So there's a lot of routes it could go, but I definitely think that this is going to look more similar to the Booster Course Pass model than just drop Mario Kart 8 and leave it behind like they did for a while.
I agree. I think that's spot on, Logan. I think that they've been investing so heavily into Nintendo Switch Online services, adding new consoles periodically to that to their offerings throughout the Switch One lifespan. So I expect to see more of that, especially the DLC offerings that they did with Animal Crossing and Mario Kart, that they offered free stuff if you were part of the subscription family. So I expect them to follow suit with that and invest heavier into that ecosystem, because that is their ecosystem and keeps it with them.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, I don't think any of us are specifically asking for microtransactions and cosmetic DLC, but it does seem to be all the rage for the most popular games out there. And some of you out there keep giving your money to all these things, and so companies are taking note. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that works, because I agree with you both. I think that like selling a $60-$70 SKU out the gate for this game makes the most sense. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has been one of the best selling games on the Switch, period. It's in every Black Friday bundle every year without fail, and it's a running joke at this point. So I think they'll keep doing that. But yeah, last thing, in terms of Switch software, what do we think? $60, $70? Because it, again, that's a number that's been going up. Nintendo experimented that with Tears of the Kingdom, launched their first $70 day one game, and we all bought it. So
Yes.
what do we think is going to happen this time around?
I could see like the main like big Nintendo franchises, Mario, Zeldas, Mario Karts, those types of things being 70, because they know they can get away with it. And I could see something, and even Metroid Prime 4 could do 70 because of just how long everybody's been waiting for that game. but I do see like them still offering a $60 not bargain. I don't want to use the word bargain, but in their eyes, to the consumer, $60 is a bargain for these other smaller like Mario sports games that don't sell as well.
Game out today, $60.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. That
exactly.
No, I think it's $70 for it. This is a little inside, but I think it's $70 if a game comes from like internally at Nintendo itself. Splatoon's, Animal Crossing's, Mario, Zelda's, Mario Kart's. But if it's one of their partner studios or a third-party exclusive, I could see some being 70, some being 60. But I think they'll be fluid with it. They're really fluid with price on a lot of stuff lately. So yeah, and Metroid Prime 4 I think is $70 because I don't know if either of you caught this, but a bunch of people are getting emails from Amazon saying their 8-year-old pre-orders of this game are getting canceled, and the speculation is because you pre-ordered it at $59.99 and this is going to be a $69.99 video game. So that seems a little bit likely at this point, but I'll go on the record here. I still don't think Metroid Prime 4 is a Switch 2 game. I think it's the Switch 1 swan song that's going to come out maybe in the spring. If Switch 2 is a fall release, I think this is the big May or June game that gets out in front of the next gen.
No, you're right. I think if they're going to kick the launch of the Switch 2 to later this year, then, you know, the millions of us who have Switch 1s are going to need new software to play this year. And that's going to sting a little because we're going to know, hopefully, that this is going to run better on Switch 2, but we won't necessarily have that option on day one. Again, we don't have a release date for Metroid Prime 4. We're all very excited for it. We've waited long enough, so I'll wait a little bit more. But if it comes out and it's only on Switch 1, I'm going to play it there. And that, you know, that stings, but it is what it is. But yeah, in the meantime, this is everything we know about Switch 2. The Nintendo Switch 2 has been officially revealed today. It's a real thing that exists, at least in 3D render form. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined us today. This was incredibly exciting. I've been covering Nintendo systems for 15 years here at IGN, from the 3DS to the Wii U, the Switch, and these are always very, very fun days. So Jada, Logan, thank you both so much for joining me bright and early to help talk about the Switch 2. Now, we're not done today. There's plenty of coverage on IGN.com as well as IGN's YouTube. We've got stuff going up all week long. We're putting together a brand new episode of Nintendo Voice Chat, our weekly Nintendo show here at IGN. So we're going to unpack the Switch 2 even more then. And until then, check out Nintendo's website, register to get your hands on this thing, go play it whenever you can, because we're going to need something to hold ourselves over for the months and months and months that we now have to wait till we find out more about this thing. But here's hoping we get more game announcements this week and today. And yeah, Logan, Jada, any last thoughts before we go?
There's a USB-C port on the top, and we didn't say that, and I'm psyched about it. That'll make charging, like on an airplane or something, so much better. So much better. It looks awesome, and this was so much fun, and I think they nailed it, and I can't wait for more.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like incremental changes and improvements, but we'll know more once we get full specs. I'm cautiously optimistic about it right now. Yeah. And so, I mean, I already know I'm going to get it eventually. It's just a matter of how hyped I'm going to be to spend my money immediately on it.
Well, I'm sure when the next 100 things about it leak over the next few months, we'll find out more details before Nintendo officially reveals them, like we did this time around. But until then, yeah, that's a Nintendo Switch 2. It's real. It's not out for a while, but stick with IGN because we've got plenty of coverage to hold you over until this thing is actually in our hands. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you for the Nintendo Switch 3.